Michele Frederick, and I'm the Associate Curator of European Art at the NCMA, and I'm so happy to be here today to talk to you about Rodin for NCMA Recommends. So in 1910, at the age of 70, Auguste Rodin defended himself against what critics called the ugly realism of his sculptures. He said, "In art, a thing is beautiful whenever it has character. Character, this is the intense truth of any natural spectacle, whether beautiful or ugly, for it is the inner essence expressed by the outer appearance. It is the soul, the sentiment, the idea that shines out through the features, the pose and action of a human body. Now, to the great artist, everything in nature has character." Rodin's interest in glorifying nature as it is, in finding beauty in ugliness, and going against the prevailing artistic trend of seeking to perfect nature's flaws, is what makes his sculptures feel so modern. More than 100 years after his death, Rodin continues to be one of the most recognizable sculptors of all time. In presenting the world as he saw it, Rodin created works of art that speak to the universal human emotion and connection. Though Rodin's sculpture was initially rejected by the Paris Salon, which was the main method through which artists were able to show their work to the public, he became quite successful, and sculptures were produced in multiples to satisfy eager collectors across the world. What you might not know is that some of his most famous sculptures, like The Kiss, The Thinker, and The Three Shades, all came from one monumental commission for large, complex bronze doors that he ominously called the Gates of Hell. Inspired by Dante Alighieri's epic poem The Inferno, written 500 years before, Rodin's Gates of Hell was intended to overwhelm the viewer and evoke the same experience of the underworld that Dante described in The Inferno. Rodin would work on the gates for 37 years until his death in 1917. Now, at the top of the gates stood the Three Shades, the version of which in the NCMA's collection is even larger and more imposing than Rodin initially designed. Fused at the head and hands, with their necks and heads bent under the weight of contemplating the afterlife, these figures were meant to embody the warning that Dante placed at the entrance to hell: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Below the shades sat Rodin's most famous sculpture, The Thinker, contemplating the horror and chaos that was unfolding around and below him. He could symbolize a poet, perhaps Dante himself, dreaming the Inferno into existence. Or the figure might be a substitute for the artist, soulfully contemplating the work that occupied him for so many years. Taking a slightly different approach, the Kiss represents a fleeting moment of joy for lovers named Paolo and Francesca, whom Dante had encountered in the second circle of hell. Fused as much with each other as with the block on which they're sitting, the intimate human connection of the Kiss's figures have made this one of Rodin's most iconic sculptures, though its uplifting mood meant that it was eventually removed from the Gates of Hell and exhibited as an independent work. Rodin's skill in making the intimate monumental is also on full view in The Cathedral, a pair of large and intensely expressive intertwining right hands. Resembling a gesture of prayer as much as the pointed arches of a Gothic cathedral, Rodin's sculpture showcases the best of his ability to combine something divine in this gentle human touch, blown up way beyond life size and put on display for generations to enjoy and to contemplate.